Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we discuss the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean as we rarely see it, 43.5 millimeters in steel on a full matching factory mesh bracelet. So this is the Planet Ocean as it debuted, redesigned in 2016, the debut of the master chronometer standard on the Planet Oceans that also brought us a non-GMT version of the previously GMT exclusive 43.5 millimeter case size. So this watch right here is 43.5 millimeters in diameter, 16.3 millimeters thick, 49 lug-to-lug with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. It wears nicely. This bracelet pulls straight down out of the lugs, which is one of the fine qualities of their so-called Sharkproof bracelet. It's nice to know that your wrist is shark-proof, though the rest of you may not be. The timepiece wears well enough on my wrist, though I do think if your wrist is any smaller, you're going to want a smaller Seamaster. My wrist is 16 centimeters circumference, and I think this is just fine. And the further away you move from the lens, the better the fit looks. It is thick, though. Take a look down the barrel real quick to get a sense of where the lugs are relative to the edge of my wrist. That's a good fit. The bracelet's lovely. The way these things are made is that big sheets of chain links are produced and then they're cut to the size of the end product bracelet. And then machining is performed on the edge to deburr them. You can see that we have perforations in here, so though it's a bracelet, it actually works like a strap. We have this 1960s evocative straight bar aesthetic, and then the recently redesigned Omega single fold clasp. You can see it's a little bit more nuanced in its exterior profiling with the satin and the polish. Now, twin trigger release, you have to press both of them for it to open up. This is a long-time system at Omega where you take the strap, or in this case the strap bracelet, you feed it through the clasp, and then all this closes down so that there's no visible strap minder externally and you don't see any extra length. It all tucks under the clasp. What's changed relatively recently is that Omega now uses this pivoted hinge, so it's a lot easier to get the strap or the strap bracelet into the buckle before you lock it in place. And this is more secure even than in the past because now the bracelet or the strap cannot pull through. It's a rare occasion when that happens with a full clasp, but it does happen. Here, it's now impossible. So not only is it easier to size up, but it's more secure. And you can see the use of this little ceramic spring-loaded pin snap. The steel cannot aggress against that and wear it down. So over time, you will always have that very snappy action with the pin snap, just like that. The tolerances will never get ropey. And it's much easier to work with than the old system. Wonderful. The case, simple and well known to Seamaster fans. We have lugs integrated into the case band, lyre style lugs with inner and outer bevels, with the outer ones polished, satin finish mid case. We've got a little bit of a recess or a countersink to the crown, though not a conventional crown guard. Media blast and polish on this crown. It is a screw down. The watch is 600 meters water resistant. We have the helium escape valve for saturation divers. You open that up so that during your one big decompression, helium that builds up during the dive will be able to escape without blowing out the seals or the crystal of the watch. When internal pressure exceeds external by 2 to 3 bar, provided you have unscrewed this crown, then the helium will escape through this valve, preserving your watch. The bezel is 120 click. Actually feels quite good. Omega bezels have not been universally great through the years. This one has gone from being a check in the box to a genuine asset. 120 click, very precise, and unlike the diver 300 meter, we have a sharp little knurling here with alternating media blast and polish. This makes it a lot easier to grip the bezel with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands. Ceramic insert, the metal is co-molded to the ceramic. So the ceramic is much more scratch resistant than historic dive bezels and anodized metal, but the metal elements that are there are co-molded so they can never separate. We have this little bezel pearl. Line that up with the minute hand. Now you've got a 0 to 60 minute count-up timer. I always prefer a dive bezel to a chronograph. Easier to read and less service costs down the line. But there's differential looms, so you can see blue for everything except the minute hand and the bezel pearl. So at a glance, you can reference those two instantly and estimate the length of your dive while you are diving. Also note the second sand is loomed. Not every dive watch does that, but you should know if your diver is running when you're down below ambient light. So that's a great feature. The dial here is made of ceramic, blue ceramic. You can see the chemical formula, zirconium oxide, just below the hands. And this gives you a lot of the features of enamel, the luster, the shine, the invulnerability to tarnish or oxidation or discoloring over time, but it doesn't have the fragility or the costs. You can also see we have these vintage-inspired broad arrow hands, although the Seamaster 300 has long since supplanted the Planet Ocean as the nostalgia tin Seamaster. That little heritage element is still there. Tri-Arabic numerals, we have 6, 9, and 12 with applique indices. We have a window for the date, and then there's two different setting modes we've got here. One of them is this time zone function that allows you to move the hour hand independently while everything else stays on its track. Minutes and seconds not affected, and I can drive the date forward or backwards depending on which way I'm traveling across the international date line. I'll pull the crown out. It does activate hacking seconds. Now you've stopped the watch. You can set it to a reference time. The beat rate's a little bit quirky here, 25,200 vibrations per hour on the caliber 8900. Bidirectional automatic winding, 2 barrels, 60-hour power reserve. 39 pivot joules. We got a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance for shock resistance. The free sprung balance also makes adjustment to a precise tolerance a little bit easier. Profoundly anti-magnetic with an anti-magnetic balance staff, escapement, and silicone hairspring. And this is a master chronometer, so it's been tested to over 15,000 Gauss. That's 1.5 Tesla. That is enormous. So master chronometer includes a 6-position test of the watch fully assembled, which is an exacting chronometer test. Generally, I think they're checking to make sure these are running no worse than -0 + 5 seconds. So while the movement does meet the COSC standards, Omega goes way beyond testing it to tolerances beyond COSC as a fully assembled watch. Power reserve, winding efficiency, durability, water resistance, also tested as part of the Master Chronometer certification. George Daniels' most famous innovation, though by no means his only one, was the double impulse tangential friction coaxial system, which you can just see on a little bridge below the primary balance bridge. The point you need to keep in mind here is that it improves power reserve, reduces maintenance requirements, and improves chronometry because it uses a tangential friction rather than the sliding type on a conventional Swiss lever. Research run to banking on Swiss lever escapements, and you'll see what I mean about how grinding that sliding friction can really be. So this is a modern movement that has a lot of impressive resistances: water resistant, shock resistant, anti-magnetic, coaxial with the mobile hour hand, and 600 meters resistant with the helium escape valve, and a rarely seen factory mesh bracelet. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.